Big news, I have a new Corvette in my life. This one. In this video, I'll give you a quick tour of my new ride, tell you why and how I bought this C6, including why it has this ridiculously low mileage, and fill you in on what's happening with my C4. Hey there, I'm Brad, and welcome to Retro Cars Forever, where we celebrate cars of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And of course, that includes my new-to-me Corvette, this bone-stock 2007 Coupe. Let me show you around. This is the third model year of the 6th generation Corvette, which ran from 2005 to 2013. As you can see from the original window sticker here, my Vette was loaded, with every option I would have ordered from the factory if I had over 57 grand to spend on a new Corvette back when it was new. Under the hood, my car has the standard 400 horsepower LS2 V8, and to whip those horses along, there's a proper 6-speed manual transmission, which is a must for a canyon carver like myself. The interior is fully loaded with the top-of-the-line 3LT option package, which has a boatload of sweet features like a heads-up display and dual power sports seats, which are also heated. Fancy. The 3LT option package also includes this navigation touchscreen, which actually still works, provided none of the roads have changed since George W. Bush was in office. Crucially, for canyon carving duty, this C6 has the Z51 performance package, which includes a stiffer suspension, sportier gear ratios, and even cross-drilled brake rotors. The color choices are my personal favorite of the C6 lineup. The interior color is cashmere, which my wife says gives the inside a pleasant beach vibe, and the exterior is a beautiful shade of Lama Blue Metallic. For additional pop, the wheels are chromed, which was an extravagant option that cost nearly $2,000 when new. Not only do I think this color combo looks particularly sharp, it also stands out nicely against the sea of boring monochrome that is modern-day traffic. So, how did I end up with the C6 in the first place? Believe it or not, I didn't actually set out to buy another Corvette. I ended up test driving over a dozen different fun cars, all of which you can see here. I wanted to keep an open mind and discover what would work best for me and my specific needs and budget, which was capped at $30,000. I was looking for a clean example of something that would be comfortable, safe, and spacious for road trip and daily driver duty, while still delivering a fun time behind the wheel for my frequent canyon driving excursions. Oh, and a vehicle with at least a nominal back seat was preferred. After a few months of exhaustive searching, when nothing was quite clicking for me, I circled back around to looking at Corvettes. I did a similarly comprehensive search of several other fun cars back in 2019 when I eventually ended up with my C4. Once again, I realized that if you want a stylish vehicle for a reasonably reliable daily driver that's also a blast to drive, you can't beat the value that a retro Corvette offers. But this time, I wanted a Corvette that was a bit newer than my 1996 C4 for reasons I'll get to later, so I focused on either a C5 or C6 Corvette, as those were in my price range. Of those generations, I was least familiar with the C6, so I pulled out my old car magazines to research what the press thought of the C6 back when it was new. As it turns out, Road & Track named the C6 the best all-around sports car in a 9-car shootout. Car and Driver, whose writers were historically the hardest to impress, praised the C6 as well. In their first test, they wrote, "In a world of disappointment, nothing but grins." It beat the Porsche 911 in a head-to-head comparison test, and the C6 Corvette won a spot on Car and Driver's 10 best list for 5 years straight. Car and Driver even took a base C6 on a grueling 9,000-mile journey to the unpaved wilderness of the Arctic Circle, and amazingly, this nearly stock Corvette survived with no issues whatsoever. Emboldened by this praise, I focused my search on base C6 coupes, ignoring the pricier special editions like the Z06, ZR1, or Grand Sport. That's because nice examples of those versions cost more than my budget would allow. And besides, the base car's 400 horsepower and 186 mph top speed already sounded like more performance than I'd ever need. So I was on the lookout when this specific C6 showed up for sale on Facebook Marketplace in Las Vegas. It was listed as a one-owner car with only around 12,700 miles on the odometer, which works out to an average of only 700 miles per year. The car was basically brand new with every option I wanted. Now, the asking price was butting right up against my 30 grand price ceiling, but I felt like the amazing condition and options of the car justified the cost. So I called and struck up a great conversation with the seller. The reason his C6 was for sale was because he had recently bought a brand new C8 Corvette and just wasn't driving the C6 anymore. So after verifying the car had a clean CarMax and agreeing on a price, I went all in. I bought my plane ticket and flew from Los Angeles to Las Vegas. Thankfully, the car did not disappoint in person. It was exceptionally well taken care of. Not only was it kept in its own garage, it came with every single piece of literature, owner's manuals, and disc guides that came from the factory, which was apparently quite a lot for these cars. In fact, the original owner was so meticulous in keeping everything from when he bought it that the keys even had the original Chevy dealership tag still attached. After a thorough test drive, I ended up buying the car and driving it back home that evening. Oh, and I've already given the car a name. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present Elvis the Corvette. I didn't just name the car after the king of rock and roll because I'm an Elvis fan. It also made sense because the car was cooped up in Vegas and it looks flashy, kind of like a blue suede shoe. Plus, the Corvette and Elvis are American icons that got their fame starting in the 1950s. Sure, they got a little flabby in the 70s, but the legend still lives on today. Okay, I'm sure you C4 fans are wondering, now that I have a C6, what's the plan for my 1996 LT4 Collector Edition that's been featured many times before on this channel? Well, it has been sold, but thankfully to a good friend. Even with the occasional burnout or celebratory donut, my C4 has been a wonderful and reliable car for the past 4.5 years that I've had it, which is way longer than just about any of the few dozen other vehicles I've owned in my lifetime. So why sell it? As wonderful as the C4 is, it is a bit crude as a daily driver, at least in the tight stop-and-go traffic of Los Angeles. I'll go into further details on how the C4 compares to the C6 as well as the C5 in an upcoming video, so make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon below if you haven't already if you want to make sure to see that. But I'll just say now, a few of the bigger improvements going from my C4 to this C6 are way better ride quality, the ease of getting in and out without having to deal with the C4's tall side sills, way more foot space in the C6, as well as more luggage space, and the ability to quickly release the target top in the C6 with just 3 simple latches, versus the much more laborious C4 procedure of wrenching out 4 bolts. All that said, I don't think I could have emotionally handled selling my C4 to anyone who wasn't a trusted friend. The C4 itself has been a trusted friend, and I'm glad I'll still be able to visit it whenever I visit my friend. And don't worry, C4 fans, just because I don't currently own a C4 doesn't mean I'll stop making videos about C4 Corvettes. So stay tuned. So now that I have the C6, what are my plans for the car? Pretty simple. I plan on driving it as much as I can and preserving it as best I can. I've already made sure that maintenance is up to date with the usual items like new fluids and belts, stuff that is important to do because of age, especially if you want to rely on the car as a long-distance daily driver like I do. And how about the C6's most common issue, the wobbling harmonic balancer? Well, mine has a teeny bit of wobble, but not too bad. It's something I'm going to keep an eye on, and I've already budgeted the grand or two that it'll take for a specialist to replace it in the future. So, any plans for modifications? The car is extremely original and already has more speed than I honestly know what to do with. So I'm keeping it stock, with the exception of 2 cheap and easily reversible mods I've already done to make shifting easier in the grind of Los Angeles traffic. That includes swapping out the beefier C6 clutch spring, seen here on the left, with a smaller and easier C5 spring. I've also done the popular anti-venom mod, where a few shims are added to the shift detent to make the shift knob feel less notchy, giving it more of a smooth gliding action. And that's it. Now I'm driving it every chance I get. In fact, in the few months that I've owned it, I've already added 1,500 miles to the odometer. That includes a 1,000-mile journey through the Napa Valley area, where the Vette proved to be an exceptional road trip car. There's so much focus on the performance of these Corvettes that it's easy to forget how wonderful they are as touring cars. The C6 has proven to be quiet, comfortable, and luxurious when you need it to be, yet still able to haul ass when the need arises. So I look forward to spending more time with Elvis and making more videos about the C6 and other Corvettes. Speaking of, leave a comment down below on any video ideas you'd like to see in the future. And if you own or owned a C6, let me know what I'm in for. I read every comment and love hearing from you all. Thanks for watching, and remember, if you have a cool car, make sure to get out there and drive.